Hey guys, what's up? The new season is about to arrive, and with it comes the latest story for Vexana, Leormord, and Faramis. And this video is all about the Necrokeep and how these three are intertwined with each other. So first, we start off at Ridgeburg, a ghastly fortress perched on the mountains, standing between the Munian Empire and the Abyss. Now for thousands of years, this defense fortress has stood guard against the countless abyssal forces. Think of it as the wall in the Game of Thrones. The people in it are basically the ones keeping all of the bad stuff at bay, away from the Munian Empire. Now, this fortress, being thousands of years old, has had a lot of history. During the Endless War, which is again thousands of years ago, a cursed mist was buried and sealed under the lands of Ridgeburg Fortress. Now, this mist has the ability to destroy abyssal magic. So, good, right? I'm guessing this is the reason why Ridgeburg Fortress was built on its location in the first place. It's actually the best weapon against the Abyss. However though, this mist has a severe side effect. It turns people into undead. So that's definitely a big no for the people of the Empire. Thus, it was buried and sealed. We can speculate that it was most likely used against the Abyss during the Endless War. So that's what Ridgeburg Fortress is, a shield of the Munian Empire against the Abyss, and buried deep under it is a hidden, double-edged weapon, which is the mist. With Ridgeburg Fortress covered, let's now go to Vexana's story. Vexana is a delicate, inexperienced noble girl that lives within the capital of the empire, which is Lumina City. Being a noble, she was pampered throughout her life. She had never even set foot outside the capital. However though, things are about to change. Lord Gaius, her father, had received an offer of alliance from Duke Atticus, which is the ruler of Ridgeburg. And this alliance will be sealed by marriage. Duke Atticus himself will be wed to Lord Gaius' daughter, Vexana. Oh snap, yep, fixed marriage. So off goes the noble lady Vexana towards the ghastly fortress of Ridgeburg, the very first line of defense against the abyssal forces. Upon arrival, where a grim-looking knight named Sir Leormord greeted her, she learned that her soon-to-be husband was not there. Duke Atticus had left to deal with a demon infestation. Yep, demon infestation. So, Vexana is just losing it, right? From being inside the safe walls of the capital, pampered by numerous maidens, to being in a land where demon infestation is a common occurrence. So after a few dreadful days, she starts writing a letter back home to Daddy, telling him of her plight and how she misses her warm baths with all of the glitter bombs on them. But as she wrote her letter, she heard a commotion outside. And there, as she looked upon the castle entrance, she saw a pile of ugly-looking thorns laid all over the iron gate, as if the place wasn't dreadful enough. Either the people of this place had an appalling taste for decoration, or they were trying to pull a prank on her. Her money was on the latter. So she asked the grim-looking emo knight Leormord to find the culprits, and to both of their surprise, the culprits were just a bunch of barefooted kids. Apparently, the kids had seen Vexana being gloomy and depressed for days, so they decided to give her the thorns, which is actually called moonlight grass, a local herb that could calm and soothe a person's mind when properly brewed. The people of this place, where demon occurrence is scheduled at Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, were actually concerned about her. So our girl Vexana decided to give the place one more chance. What's the worst thing that could happen, right? I mean, she did have her Leormord at her side. So days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, and months into years. Now, during the first few weeks of this timeline, Vexana had an ongoing pen pal relationship with her future husband, Lord Atticus. It's like falling in love online, but with more ink, paper, and one tired messenger who runs back and forth between them. She had developed feelings for him through his letters. However, though, the messages suddenly stopped. Whatever could have happened to Lord Atticus, who was fighting off a demon infestation right at the very borders of the abyss, it was not suspicious at all. Bad signal? Maybe the messenger just got tired and quit. After this, Vexana turned her full attention to the people of Ridgeburg. She was, after all, their future duchess. This was the land and people of her beloved, and despite their harsh environment, the citizens here were kind-hearted. In the span of 2 years, Vexana had transformed from an inexperienced, pampered little girl into a responsible, badass duchess that manages all of the inner workings of its lands. She became the pillar of Ridgeburg in the Duke's absence, a shining ray of hope in the middle of a bleak and grim land. And one day, just like any other day for Vexana, where she was walking down the muddy streets to address the problems of Ridgeburg's poorer citizens, a shout from the city guards was heard. "The Duke has returned!" Oh yeah, the Duke has returned. But before we go to the story's climax, let's first go back to Leormord's story so that we can better understand the stuff that's about to go down. Leormord's father was a royal guard. Leormord's father's father was also a royal guard. Leormord's father's father's father was, guess what, also a royal guard. Well, you get the idea, right? Their family's lineage was from a long line of royal guards, serving the lords of the south, acting as swords and shields for their liege. Now, even before baby Leormord could say the word mama, his parents had already pledged him as a personal squire to the then young Atticus, which is the future Duke of Ridgeburg. The two boys grew up together, learning from the very best that Ridgeburg had to offer. Battle prowess from veteran champions of the army, and to politics from wizened, gray-bearded tutors. Atticus, being of noble blood, had an inner talent for such things. Such was the aptitude of one coming from a family of rulers. Leormord, though, refused to get left behind. He would have secret training sessions at night just to be able to keep up with his lord, honing his skills further through sheer will and effort. Atticus, being the older one between them, would always help Leormord in training. Leormord didn't just consider Atticus as his lord, but as his older brother as well. Now there is a custom amongst the people of Ridgeburg. Squires or would-be knights would actually take part in the birthing of their horses. Leormord named his horse Barbiel, so I guess that's where he got his ultimate. I'm guessing pretty much all of the soldiers in Ridgeburg have the same ultimate. Anyway, Leormord and Atticus grew formidable within the training grounds of Ridgeburg. However though, even before they could have a taste of a real battle, disaster had struck. Atticus's father, the old Duke, had passed away. Young Atticus was then forced to take on the responsibilities of the new Duke of Ridgeburg, while Leormord was then assigned as captain of the Royal Guards. As inexperienced as they were forced to face the harsh realities of their lands. The border outposts were swarming with demons from the abyss. They battled endlessly, gaining hard-earned experience through the process. After years of fighting, they finally purged the borders of any abyssal creatures. Having defended the land from years of continuous onslaught, a repose of peace settled within Ridgeburg. During this time, Atticus, remembering his lessons on politics, will then decide to form alliances with the other family nobles of the empire. Through marriage, he sought to form a bond with the royal house of Gaius. Lord Gaius had a daughter named Vexana, and it was her that Atticus proposed to marry. So our boy Atticus, after that long-ass demon-slaying campaign that he and Leormord just did, probably got to thinking that he needed more allies, and as well as making sure that his family bloodline continues in case he falls in battle, right? So with that political move, he managed to address those two pressing issues. However, right before his beautiful future wife-to-be arrived, Atticus received a letter from the borders. Another demon infestation, this time with a more vicious breed. Strangely enough, these demons were reported to have traces of the same putrid magic that caused the death of Atticus's father. With that in mind, Atticus gathered all of his homeboys, all except for one, Leormord. Right before Atticus left for some more demon-ass kicking, he declared Leormord as a sworn knight of Ridgeburg and made him swear an oath. Homies before hoes. Well, not really. Basically bromance for life. Protect you until my dying breath sort of thing. Be that as it may, Leormord was still furious that he couldn't join his liege for some more demon slaying. But Leormord understood that Atticus trusted no one but him to protect his future bride. And thus, Leormord greeted Vexana on her arrival, got to know each other, and protected her throughout the years as they waited for the Duke to come back, which took way longer than he expected. And then, one day, he heard the shouts of the city guards. "The Duke has returned!" And so we come back to the day that Duke Atticus finally returned home. Vexana for the first time had seen her future husband. However, he was quite different from what she had imagined. The passionate man from the letters was a far cry from the grim-looking person that stood before her. Even Leormord, who had known the Duke since childhood, barely recognized the empty-looking man before him. Both Vexana and Leormord considered it to be the effects of a traumatic and brutal 2 years of battle. They believed that soon enough, Atticus will get better, surrounded by people who cherished and cared for him. And soon enough, the day of the wedding came. And as the Duke and Duchess took their vows, Atticus took out a box that held their wedding ring. However though, as Atticus opened the box, instead of a 20-carat diamond ring, a wicked pair of wings came out. A bone-chilling voice was heard throughout Ridgeburg's holy church.
Embrace the world of death.
And from there, everything just went south. Atticus and the soldiers who were with him on the last campaign wriggled, twisted, cracked bones, and basically went full exorcist style. They reeked of the same foul magic that had killed the previous Duke. It became a bloodbath. Remember that the majority of Ridgeburg's soldiers were with Atticus during the campaign. So there was barely any resistance as the elite soldiers turned demon slaughtered the citizens and guards who were at the wedding. Leormord, the only one who was skilled enough to stand against them, stood dumbfounded as he watched his liege, his lord, the one who he considered his brother, slaughter his own beloved people. Atticus then slowly turned towards Vexana and in a quick motion lunged for her neck. Vexana watched as the people who she cared for and grew close to her heart got brutally slain one by one. This madness has got to end. She turned at Atticus and at that exact moment saw him lunge toward her with a murderous look on his face. The memories of years she spent with the people of Ridgeburg flashed on her mind as she shouted,
Stop!
Her voice rang clear and true, with the power of authority of the Duchess of Ridgeburg. There's some conqueror's haki going on right now. With that commando, Duke Atticus stopped in his tracks. Leormord, having gained his senses from Vexana's commanding voice, rushed towards Atticus and Vexana. Atticus, who seemed to have remembered who he was, desperately fought the demonic curse within him. With his last remaining strength and sanity, he ordered Leormord to kill him. Leormord stared at Atticus. The one who he swore to protect had now ordered Leormord to kill him. Now on this part, we have to remember that Leormord's family and lineage way back were of royal guards, sworn to protect whoever it was that they gave their oath to. So this last order from Atticus went against every fiber of his being. Nonetheless, he knew of Ridgeburg and its people. He knew of Vexana, and most important of all, he knew the heart of his Lord Liege Atticus. And with a determination as immense as the mountains of Nantes, he clenched his oath sword and pierced that very heart, his brother's heart, whispering, "Home is for life," as he did so. The Duke looked at Leormord as his lifeblood slowly dripped away from his body. "Brother, I am free." Then with his last dying breath, he looked at Vexana and whispered, "The mist, if there's no other choice." Apparently, Atticus had a lot of last dying breath left because he was still able to explain and reveal to Vexana the true nature of the mist and even unveil the royal family's huge secret. It seems that eons ago, during the Endless War, the mist was actually formed from the resentments of hundreds and thousands of dying warriors. So a dash of magic, 2 spoonfuls of cursed energy, and thousands of deaths, and voila, we have ourselves the mist. A cursed force that destroys anything that has the stench of the abyss. However though, keep away from humans since they will turn undead. I'm betting Selena, Dirot, and Tamus isn't a fan of this mist. Anyway, after that, Atticus went bye-bye and turned to dust. Vexana and Leormord though still had problems on their hands. Demon Knights were still attacking everyone in their sight, not to mention that a horde of demons was rallying just outside the city's gate. If there ever was a time to use the mist, then this is it. If she didn't, not only will Ridgeburg fall and all of its citizens get murdered, but the demons will be able to enter the empire unchecked, free to devour and perform their cruelties to the numerous villages and small cities that surrounded the area, and maybe, if given a proper foothold, even topple and destroy the Moonian Empire itself. With that in mind, Vexana lifted the scepter from Atticus's hands and with the magic power that ran deep within her blood, activated the mist that will destroy all of the demons. All the demons caught within the mist turned to ash. And with that, Ridgeburg stayed true to its name, the guardian of the Moonian Empire, eliminating the threats that will dare show its fangs to the kingdom, even at the price of its very own people. Every human from Ridgeburg Fortress, even the old and the young, wailed in agony as the mist engulfed them. Vexana slumped down, ridden with guilt. She saved the Moonian Empire and, in a way, even Ridgeburg. However, she can't deny the fact that she had pretty much cursed every living being on this land, her land. It dawned on her that she had just inflicted an eternity of misery to her people. She felt that she had no right to be their duchess. The people though thought otherwise. They approached their duchess and thanked her for saving them from the cruel clutches of the demons. After that incident, a black fog had shrouded Ridgeburg, isolating it from its neighboring lands. Now, before we proceed and learn what happened to the lives of the Ridgeburg citizens, let's first go back to Faramis' story. Faramis is actually a physician. His family is famous for curing what many considered incurable diseases. Faramis' grandfather was renowned for using both medicine and magic. This garnered the attention of the royal family and took them in as their very own physicians. However, though, despite the immense talent of his family, they were never treated as equals as of the nobles. They were the vassals of the highest talent, geniuses when it comes to medicine, and rising through the ranks as they performed feats that could almost even be called miracles. But in the end, in the eyes of the elitist nobles, which by the way is a lot in the empire, they were just that, vassals, servants. A talented servant they may be, but still a servant. Not to be even considered on the same level as the lowest of nobles. Although not everyone is of the same opinion, so the family continued to prosper and grow despite the persecutions. Their success garnered a lot of jealousy. How could mere servants consider themselves equals? The audacity! And the one taking the brunt of all of this jealousy was the then young Faramis. The other noble boys would often make fun of him. At one banquet though, the noble boys had taken it too far. They beat the crap out of Faramis and he lost consciousness as he was struck again and again. He didn't know how much time had passed, but as he woke up, he saw a high noble girl kneeling at his side, taking care of him and giving him medicine. And so our boy got struck, not by fists though, but by the childhood, puppy love, crush and blush kind of thing. Faramis saw her as his shining ray of sunshine amidst his gloomy sad life. After that incident, he had never seen her again. Now, despite their brief encounter, Faramis held her deep inside his heart. I mean, we've all been there, right? Anyways, Faramis during his childhood had been very frail and sickly. Probably that's why he looked an easy target for the bullies. He had numerous brushes with death because of his condition. However, since he had a family full of individuals having godly powers in the field of medicine, he had always survived. Also, he didn't like his family serving the royalties, and besides, the job didn't pose any challenge for Faramis. The nobilities would often call them in a rush, even for something as minor as a flu. He refused to be a dog that will come rushing to his master within a moment's call. No, he will be different. Just like his grandfather, he will confront and conquer the most complex diseases within the Monian lands. And so he set forth, deciphering and solving the inexplicable diseases that plague the lands. He was not doing it out of some grand, idealistic, noble cause though. No, 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 no. He was not that kind. He had experienced cruelty firsthand and knew the true nature of most of these humans. What he was aiming for was to go beyond life and death itself. That was the biggest challenge, the mystery that even his family could not uncover. That's why when he heard of what happened in Ridgeburg, which is now being called Necrokeep, he instantly knew that this was the perfect place to learn and understand the unfathomable mysteries of life and death. When Faramis arrived at the Necrokeep, he didn't get affected by the mist. He was protected by his ancestral staff, which gave him immunity against even the vilest of curses. What Faramis saw as he walked the streets of Necrokeep was a depressing scene. The people here were clinging to any pretense of life. He saw what looked like a high noble handing out brewed drinks amongst the inhabitants of Necrokeep. Faramis, having an innate hatred towards nobles, considered the act foolish and saw it as a self-satisfying charity. As with all nobles, it was all for show. He knew that they didn't genuinely care for anyone who's low-born. Then the lady approached and gave him what she had called moonlight brew. Despite the depressing scenery, he was actually in a good mood. This was the perfect place for his research. So to humor the hypocrite noble, he took a drink and tasted her moonlight crap. Then it happened. Through the drink, he felt the lady and the people's feelings. Hope. Hope of life. For some reason, the scene of his childhood crush, nursing him back to health, flashed in his mind. He saw Necrokeep in a new light. He looked around the mist and the people within it. For the first time in his life as a physician, he felt the need to truly save someone. Not just for the study or research, but to actually save a life. He will reach past death itself and bring these souls back to life. He dove into his research with vigor. However, though, the mist was nothing like any he had encountered. It was a potent curse that contained eons of hatred. Growing desperate, he started testing the medicinal herbs he created unto himself. On one such occasion, he went a bit too far. He fainted on his laboratory, feeling the new medicine he created slowly draining his life away. Then, he tasted something bitter on his mouth. This time, he recognized her childhood crush. The noble girl who helped him from his childhood was none other than Vexana, the Duchess of Necrokeep. Anyway, after all that, a few days have passed and Faramis recovered. Vexana then told him to go away. Necrokeep bad, mist bad, for your own safety, leave this place. But Faramis was like, but, I have a crush on you. I wanna help you and your people. So our lover boy let go of his ancestral staff, which is basically the only thing that was keeping him safe from the mist. And there we go, instant undead Faramis, pale skin and all. Now at this point, it would really hurt if he just gets friend-zoned. And now with all of them in the same boat, including Leormord who was in the background this whole time, still thinking of his lost homie, they promised to find a cure, to conquer and overcome this curse, and rid of Ridgeburg of the mist.